money, for the glory, and for the fun. Mostly for the money.
Smokey and the Bandit was a smash hit. Fast cars, big laughs, pure 70s gold. But behind the scenes, it was chaos on wheels. One iconic performance, totally unscripted. One chase scene, so real, it nearly got the crew arrested. And one fan of the film, let's just say, you won't believe who it was. These are 15 weird and wild facts about Smokey and the Bandit, plus a bonus so bizarre, it involves Fred Flintstone and a TV edit you have to hear to believe. Buckle up. This ride's about to get ridiculous. Number 1. To most people, the film's setup sounded like a joke. Haul a truckload of Coors beer across state lines, outrun the law, and pocket the reward. But in the 1970s, that was a real crime. At the time, Coors beer wasn't pasteurized and contained no preservatives. That meant it had to be kept cold. And legally, it couldn't be sold east of the Mississippi without specialized refrigeration. Smuggling it was a real thing. In fact, the idea for Smokey and the Bandit came straight from the production team's own run-in with the law while transporting Coors to a film set. The beer was a prized black market item in the South, and people really were pulling off mini heists just to taste it. So that first scene in the movie, it wasn't an exaggeration. It was practically a documentary with Burt Reynolds in a cowboy hat.
Oh, I love your suits. It must be a bitch getting a size 68 extra fat.
Number 2. By 1977, Burt Reynolds was the biggest star in America, and he knew it. When Smokey and the Bandit entered production, Universal offered him a staggering salary, over $1 million, more than the entire supporting cast and crew combined. Some called it excessive, others called it necessary. Either way, everyone on set knew who the movie revolved around. Tensions simmered, crew members grumbled, a few castmates felt overshadowed, but Burt didn't back down. He showed up every day with charisma, confidence, and control. Then, halfway through filming, Universal slashed the budget. Reynolds didn't flinch. He simply said, "If I walk, this movie dies." They let him keep the money, and they didn't cut him again. Because without Burt, there was no Bandit. Just a script, 4 cars, and a whole lot of nothing. Number 3. When casting began, studio execs didn't want Sally Field. They said she wasn't sexy enough, not glamorous enough, not right for a Southern comedy. But Burt Reynolds fought for her. Personally, he saw something in her the studio didn't. Talent, timing, heart. He pushed until they gave in. Not only did Sally Field win the part, she also won Burt's heart. Their off-screen relationship began on set. It was playful, passionate, and just as fast-moving as the plot. But like the movie's final chase, it didn't last. And behind every smile in that Trans Am, there's a layer of truth most fans never knew. Number 4. Their chemistry lit up the screen, but behind the scenes, Burt and Sally were falling in love in real time. They shared trailers, they improvised lines, they laughed between takes, and sometimes didn't stop when the cameras rolled. But the pressure of fame and 2 strong personalities caught up with them. The romance that began during Smokey and the Bandit would stretch across years, breakups, and tabloids until it finally fell apart. Later in life, Sally Field called it one of the most complicated relationships of her life. And when Burt Reynolds passed away, he said not marrying her was his biggest regret.
If we were lost on a desert island together, do you think we'd get along and talk and...
Sure.
Number 5. Sheriff Buford T. Justice didn't just steal scenes, he hijacked the movie. And nearly everything he said, completely unscripted. Jackie Gleason improvised most of his insults, one-liners, and reactions. The legendary comedian had such razor-sharp timing that the crew gave up trying to write for him. One of the film's most iconic lines, "There's no way you came from my loins," was made up on the spot. Even Burt Reynolds couldn't keep a straight face.
There's no way that you could come from my loins. Soon as I get home, the first thing I'm gonna do is punch your mama in the mouth.
Gleason didn't just play the sheriff, he became him. And in doing so, he created one of the greatest comic villains in movie history, with nothing but instinct, swagger, and a whole lot of ad-libbing.
What the hell is the world coming to?
Number 6. Jerry Reed wasn't the studio's first choice to play Snowman. In fact, he wasn't even cast until the night before filming started. The role had been offered to other musicians and actors, but none stuck. With the clock ticking, Burt Reynolds made a call. He wanted Jerry Reed, not just for the role, but for the soul of the movie. Reed showed up with no time to prepare. He threw on a cowboy hat, brought his guitar, and hit the ground running. Within days, he wasn't just Snowman, he was the soundtrack too. He wrote Eastbound and Down during the shoot and turned a last-minute casting scramble into a musical legend. Number 7. Buford T. Justice wasn't just a character. He was based on a real man. Jackie Gleason modeled the role after a Florida highway patrolman he'd once met during a traffic stop. The man was loud, foul-mouthed, and strangely charming, and Gleason never forgot him. To nail the part, he even invited another real Southern sheriff to hang out on set, just to study the accent, attitude, and posture. What resulted wasn't a cartoon. It was Gleason's exaggerated version of a real-life lawman, and that's why it felt so oddly authentic. Buford T. Justice wasn't born in the script. He was pulled from the back roads of the South and dropped straight into movie history. Hey, pretty wild so far, right? If you're enjoying the ride, feel free to hit like or subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Because in a minute, there's a moment where things went so off script, even the crew didn't know how it would end. Stick around, it gets crazier.
Thanks for the ride, Bandit. Good luck tapping some of that hot Sally Field tail.
Number 8. Pontiac didn't just give Smokey and the Bandit its signature car. They donated 4 brand new Trans Ams for the production, but no one expected how fast they'd be wrecked. High-speed chases, dirt roads, and jump scenes shredded the cars. By the end of filming, all 4 had been destroyed, bent frames and busted axles included. The crew got desperate. They started using spare parts, paint jobs, and duct tape to keep the hero car alive just long enough to finish each shot. So when you see the Bandit soaring through the air or weaving through traffic, just know that beautiful black Trans Am was probably held together by hope, glue, and movie magic. Number 9. There was no CGI. No digital trickery, just tires, dirt, and daring. Burt Reynolds didn't just sit behind the wheel of that Trans Am. He insisted on doing some of the high-speed stunts himself. Against the studio's wishes, he pushed the limits to make the action feel real. And it wasn't just Burt. Every stunt in the movie was done practically, from car jumps to narrow escapes. What you saw on screen, that's exactly what happened. Every scrape, every skid, every flying fender. The danger was real. The sweat was real. And that's why it still holds up today. Number 10. In one scene, the film crew blocked off a highway to shoot a chase, just another day on set, but it looked too real. A real police officer, unaware filming was happening, pulled onto the set mid-take. He saw speeding cars, no permits visible, and what looked like an actual illegal street race. He flipped on his siren, jumped out of the car, and nearly arrested the stunt team on the spot. It took several minutes to convince him it was a movie. By then, they'd blown the shot, but gained a great story. Number 11. From day one, the studio didn't believe in the movie. They thought it was a lowbrow redneck comedy that would flop outside the South. So mid-production, Universal slashed the budget, cutting staff, tightening schedules, and leaving the crew scrambling to finish what they started. Burt Reynolds, Jackie Gleason, and the rest of the team had to get creative, reusing locations, compressing scenes, and sometimes just winging it. The irony. The film went on to become one of the biggest box office hits of 1977, outgrossing Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Annie Hall. The studio gave up on the movie. The audience didn't. Number 12. The version you saw, Bandit and Snowman laughing their way into another run, wasn't how it was supposed to end. The original script had a much darker, more grounded ending, with Bandit facing the consequences of his outlaw life and a slower, more reflective tone. But during filming, the cast and crew felt it didn't fit. The tone was wrong. The charm was fading. So they scrapped it on the spot and improvised the ending that made it to theaters. No rewrite, no reshoots, just instinct. And that last-minute change gave the film the exact kind of closing laugh fans wanted. Number 13. Smokey and the Bandit may be beloved today, but when it came out, critics rolled their eyes. Roger Ebert gave it 2 stars. Others called it dumb, dated, and disposable, but audiences disagreed loudly. The movie exploded at the box office, grossing over $120 million and becoming the second highest grossing film of 1977, right behind Star Wars. It wasn't a critics movie, it was a people's movie, and sometimes that's the better kind.
Where's Sheriff Bradford?
I am Sheriff Branford.
Number 14. Pontiac gave Smokey and the Bandit 4 Trans Ams for free. They never expected what came next. After the film's release, Trans Am sales skyrocketed. Dealers couldn't keep them on the lot. In some regions, sales nearly doubled within months. The car became a symbol of rebellion, cool, and speed. And to this day, the black and gold 77 Trans Am is one of the most iconic movie cars ever built, because Burt Reynolds made it look like it could fly. Number 15. Of all the people who fell in love with Smokey and the Bandit, the last one anyone expected was Alfred Hitchcock. Yes, that Hitchcock, the master of suspense, the man behind Psycho, Vertigo, and Rear Window. According to crew members, Hitchcock watched the movie multiple times and praised it for its timing, energy, and pacing. He even reportedly called it a perfect piece of American filmmaking, funny, fast, and full of movement. It wasn't a thriller, it wasn't horror, but something about the Bandit's chaos spoke to the king of cinematic control. Because when Alfred Hitchcock tells you a movie works, you don't argue, you hit play again.
Damn, he had a lot of friends, didn't he?
If they had cremated the son of a bitch.
Bonus fact: when Smokey and the Bandit was edited for television, there was a problem. Jackie Gleason's dialogue was way too filthy for prime time. So, in one of the strangest TV edits ever, Gleason's voice was dubbed over by Mel Blanc, the legendary voice actor behind Fred Flintstone, Bugs Bunny, and more. Imagine Buford T. Justice chasing Bandit, with the voice of a Saturday morning cartoon. The result was bizarre, hilarious, and unforgettable. And for viewers who only saw the TV version, they had no idea just how much fire Gleason brought to the original. Smokey and the Bandit wasn't just a car chase comedy. It was a happy accident, a southern rebellion, and a stunt-filled miracle that shouldn't have worked, but somehow became iconic. If you saw this show in a whole new light today, go ahead and like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which fact shocked you the most. Thanks for watching.
What happened, Daddy?
Get back in that goddamn car.